Greetings to everyone. Wahinkpe topa amachi apielo. Nishanti ataba wogalake na pechuze pelo. My name is Four Arrows, and I will offer everybody a warm handshake this morning. I have a brief presentation and try to get it in within 5 minutes. So I put together some slides for you. Please allow me to commence with them right now. Hold on just a second. And here we go. I've titled this Worldview Reflection as Our Only Chance. Quote from the Institute of Noetic Science here is that worldview is a fundamental view of a universe, and that the most powerful step people can take toward achieving their highest potential is the willingness to explore and understand their worldview. But what fundamental view of the universe is going to guide us in these very difficult times that we're in these existential times that we're in? How can we transform the realms of politics, economics, science, technology, and education? Well, I propose, as did Robert Redfield, the father of social anthropology at the University of Chicago in the 40s and 50s, that there's only two essential worldviews. The dominant one guiding us today that has gotten us in so much trouble, and the one that guided us for 99% of human history that has been overshadowed by the dominant one. Now, the founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, Edgar Mitchell, the seventh man to walk on the moon, when he looked back on Earth from up there, he had an epiphany, and he founded that Institute of Noetic Sciences. And afterwards, he wrote, only a handful of visionaries recognized that indigenous worldview can aid the transition to a sustainable world. Now, there are a handful of visionaries that are out there. You can see the people that say that ignoring indigenous people at our peril, or we ignore indigenous people at our peril. Deputy Secretary of the United Nations, Noam Chomsky. The grim prognosis on this planet is the consequences of centuries of forgetting what traditional societies knew. Greg Kaheti is the pathway, indigenous worldview is the pathway for our future survival. David Suzuki is our best bet for survival. Okay, on and on and on. Vandiva Shiva, it's the path to the future. Now, aside from these visionaries, the largest study ever done, the May 2019 United Nations Biodiversity Report, that shows that 1 million more species are at risk for human extinction from human activities. They also say that it's not technology, but worldview that can save us. And they refer specifically to indigenous communities, saying that on average, these trends that they found, these scary trends that they found, are less severe, are avoided entirely in those areas where indigenous worldview and language still exist and have control of the land. Well, what are we talking about with indigenous worldviews? Well, in my recent book that just came out, The Red Road, linking diversity and inclusion initiatives to indigenous worldview, I have 40 listed. These are just 12. And just have a look at how our dominant systems, our institutions, our education systems, generally abide by the things on the left. Right? Most of us in our individual lives, we generally are on these categories on the left, even if intellectually we tend to see the ones on the right as more important. In our life, we live according to the ones on the left. Sorry that we have to rush through these, but here goes. So we can use the indigenous worldview, whether we are indigenous or not. We're not talking about place-based knowledge here that you can only have when you know the language and you've been brought up in one of the unique, diverse indigenous cultures. We're talking about the worldview that's in common with all these place-based cultures. How can we reimagine our separation of humans from the rest of nature? Separation of humans into hierarchies. How can we get rid of this Euro supremacist notions of history, valorization of market capitalist economies, naturalization of the natural nation state, privileging of property ownership, supremacy of European reason, etc. I love these from Stein and Andreotti. Here's an example I'd like for you to look at. I chose 3 people that I really respect: Franklin Roosevelt, Mahatma Gandhi, and Wendell Berry. When I say I respect their environmental ideas about the importance of soil. I showed this at a conference with some soil experts I was on a panel with. And I said that these are really important statements. To forget how to dig the earth is to forget ourselves. We got to take proper care of the soil or we can't have life. A nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. That's wisdom, it's true, but there's a problem with it. It comes from a worldview that essentially is human-centered. Now look at this one from Chief Seattle. Every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Even the rocks thrill with the memories of stirring events connected with the lives of my people, and the very dust upon which we stand responds lovingly to our footsteps. Okay. Until we call natural resources like animals, trees, rivers, and soil our relatives and really understand and respect their intelligence, their sentience, the aliveness, and the teachings of other than humans. Which is a primary Indigenous worldview precept. We won't be worthy ancestors of future generations. So I leave that with you, and just go back and just see and feel the difference in how one, from an Indigenous worldview perspective, can understand spirits that are in the soil. So I want to close with saying that it's not a coincidence that 80% of all the biodiversity on Mother Earth is where Indigenous people, only 5% of the world's population, are controlling the land with their worldview. And they're fighting and being killed to do that. We have to support Indigenous people as we begin to do the self-hypnosis and the personal transformation work and the metacognitive work to transform our worldview. So you can find out more about worldview from reading some of my books. Go to fourarrowsbooks.com. But I'd like to close right now with a song that the Cherokee mothers sang to their children on the Trail of Tears, a very brutal and tragic forced march from the Carolinas all the way into Oklahoma. That was done to the Cherokee people and the Creek people. The mother sang this lullaby that said, "Did you see the beautiful clouds? Did you see the beautiful trout in the water when we went by? Did you see the dancing grasses in the wind? Did you hear the beautiful sounds of the birds?" In other words, part of Indigenous worldview is no matter how difficult things are, to see the beauty in front of you, behind you, to the right, to the left, above and below. And which is the Navajo Pollen Path song, by the way. So as I play this lullaby and you guys say goodbye to me and I say goodbye to you, until we meet again, I ask you to just listen to the courage and the beauty of Mother singing a lullaby. This is the melody in our difficult times. Takoyas.